I started filming while living with my parents, and it wasn't until after I was completely embarrassed twice before I finally got my first office. Hey there friends, Zephan here, and in this video I'm going to give you a tour of my small studio setup and talk about some of the unique YouTube studio backgrounds that we have in this 800 square foot space. But before I do, please hit that like and subscribe button for me. Every little bit counts, and if you do subscribe, I promise to give you more fun content just like this video. Moving on, it's important that I mention, while I've been self-employed since 2013, there were two major events that embarrassed me the most that ultimately led to my first office. Embarrassment number one, not having a studio for a client to go to. I was still working out of my parents' home, and I'll never forget, I had landed a web design firm as one of my first clients, and I was an hour from walking out the door when the client called and asked where we were going to film. To which I replied, "At your office? The address that you gave me to go to?" It wasn't until right at this moment that the client told me their office was in their house. They didn't even have a desk chair, and that it was in complete shambles. I was floored, because this web design firm had worked with some bigger brands, so some quick thinking, and I remembered that my grandparents, who lived down in a condo down the street, had an events room or a poker room in the basement. It was plain and quiet, so it would work.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
I can still smell the scent of old people and chicken noodle soup cooking and a mildew-ridden basement like it was just yesterday. I had a colored light, I splashed on the back wall, I went through all the trouble to light it, and as we sit down for the interview, the client thought to ask, should we maybe move this to another day when maybe we can find a better location? I pushed through because I did not want to reschedule with someone who didn't have an office, and I had no idea where this other location would pop out of thin air. In the end, we revised the video approximately 136 times. Okay, maybe it was like 13 times, but still, and that was the last I ever spoke to them. Embarrassment number two, not having a studio for a client to go to 2.0. Yep, I made the same mistake twice. So a year goes by and I had an old colleague with some live streaming equipment. One of my clients was hoping to live stream, so we taped up a green screen in my dining room. I was living with roommates at this point, but the client even remarked my home was kind of like a frat house. I had to kick all of my roommates out and lock our cat in the basement. Shockingly, this client continued to work with me for years to come and still works with me on occasion to this day. I'm not sure how, but I think she was used to bootstrapping her business too, so she understood. Plus the quality of what I brought to the table at the prices I was charging at the time, it was a steal. Making the same mistake twice was embarrassing, and it led me to find a co-working space, which worked quite well for some time. Having a professional location for people to hold meetings and somewhere quiet I could edit was great. I met a ton of awesome people, but the real drawback was it wasn't a great filming environment. When it rained, you could really hear it. I couldn't tell other members of the space to be quiet or to give me a whole conference room for filming. I had no control over the environment at all. Eventually, I moved in to share a studio with one of my colleagues, and it's been a great relationship ever since. But as time went on and our businesses both grew, I realized we were both running out of space. As of November of 2020, yep, in the middle of a growing pandemic, I took a leap of faith and rented out an 800 square foot space in a quiet business park. Now it's not perfect, but I'm going to jump up and in a moment, I'm going to give you the full tour. I talk about some of the things I did to soundproof the room. I'll also share with you my studio backgrounds that I put in place for making YouTube videos for my clients, and some of the little tricks that I learned along the way. Let's go check out the studio. So welcome to our studio tour. Like I said in our video, this is a modest 800 square foot space in a business park. And one of the first things that you'll notice when you walk in is that we really tried to do as much soundproofing as possible. These offices were not really built to be soundproofed, and so we've kind of rigged some things up to look as clean as possible and also help us to muffle both the sound that's coming in from outside and some of the sound inside, so there's no bouncing off the walls or echoes or anything like that. So these are sound blankets, also known as moving or shipping blankets, that we got from Harbor Freight Tools. They're only like $5 a piece, and what I did was I used a lot of their clamps to just clamp these on to the windowsill. And if you actually look behind this, if I pull one of these clamps off, I'm using, these are also kind of like made for clamping wood pieces together. We're using this and we flip them outwards to press out against these metal frames. Originally, I was going to go for magnets, but unfortunately, these metal frames are not magnetic, so that doesn't really work for us. But these little clips and clamps really make it super easy to cover this up, and this is our whole front door that's covered with these sound blankets, and also it's preventing any outside light from coming through. So it just helps to make sure that anything we shoot in here isn't really impacted by what's going on outside. Moving over this way, and then we'll go in kind of a clockwise motion around the room. This is really our main studio room. So you'll see all of the gear that's over here, all of the backdrops. This is like a room divider from IKEA in the back corner that folds up and stows away when we need it. This is maybe unfolded 6 to 8 feet wide, and so it's just a nice extra background piece to use or to bring in when you need to try to cover up outlets on the wall or hide something. It's also semi-translucent, so we can take our RGB lights here and we can put a color behind it, make it look even nicer or on brand for the client. These lights, this is a Came TV Perseus light. It's, I believe, a 75 watt light panel. These are from the Boltzmann series of lights that they make, so you can power it with a V-mount battery. We're just using AC power here in the studio. I love these lights. We probably need to make a video about them, but the reason why I picked these is because they're very bright in the different RGB colors, and we're using a gray paper roll backdrop that we can change the color of. So it's as simple as just going in and dialing in whatever color it is, and you can see I can change this right on the spot to be pretty much any color of the rainbow that I'm looking for. But without this on, it's just a simple gray backdrop. So that's a 9 foot wide, I think it's 107-inch wide gray paper roll. And then above it back here, you'll actually see we have a green screen roll too. So anytime we shoot any green screen stuff, we can just walk right over here to our chains, and then we can pull these up. We can roll up the gray one, roll down the green screen one. And this is a very versatile background. The background holder is from Impact, and it can be wall mounted, or in this case, we mounted it to C-stands, and it can hold up to 3 107-inch wide paper rolls. So these rolls are, I think, like 36 feet long. We can cut it off if we've messed it up or made holes in it, and just pull down another piece. It's really convenient to have this as a backdrop. And I'm not even using its full functionality since we have a completely empty segment that could hold another paper roll. Now behind this, I'm going to roll up this paper for a second, show you what that's like. So behind this is something that is not conducive to shooting quiet videos. They're actually big open glass windows behind this. They're really thick, so they're good at blocking the sound out, but one of the things I wanted to try and do is make sure we could muffle as much sound as possible. So again, we have some more of those moving blankets that we're using as sound blankets, and then to hold them in at the top, because there was no easy way to mount these, we actually took a truck cargo bar. It's like a ratcheting cargo bar, and it goes in between the metal slats that are holding the windows in place, and then we just clamped the blankets on at the top, and then we're using tension rods. These are just like curtain rods for a shower to hold everything in place. And then you notice, because this is all up on C-stands, we've actually gained some storage space back here where if we need to hide a couple of chairs or maybe another background, we can put that stuff back over here. Now, on this side of the room, one of the things that we wanted to do was to make sure that you could turn essentially 90 degrees in every which way, and you would get a new backdrop. So I'm going to take this green light off of me so I don't look like the Hulk here, but this is one of our step and repeat backdrops that's similar to something that you would see at a conference. So we have our pipe and drape. This goes about 8 feet tall. And then I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 16 foot wide. So it covers this whole entire wall. And this is just drape that, you know, if I need to run some power cables and reach the outlets behind it, I can simply just pull it aside, reach whatever outlet I need to, and just hide my cables underneath of the drape. And then in front of it, this is one of my favorite backgrounds because this is something that you normally see at conferences on humongous stages with 40 feet wide. And I found the same company that makes them can make a smaller version. So this one's 8 feet tall by 10 feet wide. This is from a company called Stretch Shapes. And what they do is they build this tension fabric and they deliver it along with the uprights that you can hold the entire thing up. And because this is essentially just pure white, I can throw any color onto this. So again, if I've got one of my RGB panels, I can just flip this around. And if you said, hey, my color is blue, we can just, dial this right in to the blue color that matches your brand. So that's one of the nice things that I really love about this. And because it's on these posts, we can actually slide it 90 degrees. So if we had to move it out of the way and just use the plain black drape background, it takes 60 seconds for us to slide this over to the other side of the room. Now, if we really wanted to, we could actually take the curtains away and just pull them aside. And this is just our gray, empty, painted wall, nothing special back here. But we could have painted this a different color. We could have put a different background up that we can just, pull the drapes away. And then all of a sudden you have 1, 2, 3 different backgrounds. So think about all of this stuff when you're looking at a smaller studio space. How can you best leverage the room to your needs? So we're going to move over here a little bit. You'll see we've got some gear sitting out right now. One of the things that I like to keep is at least 2 somewhere between 40 to 50 inch TVs on a rolling cart. So it's really nice that I can just slide this anywhere that I need it to go. And the center column has a little hiding spot to hide the power cable so that it's not sticking out with all these cables hanging out. So when we want it in the shot, we can put someone's logo on the screen. We can put a Zoom audience if we're doing a live stream. It's a really nice TV cart to have. And I think it was probably less than $100. And the little shelf that mounts to it too. So if you need to plug a laptop in, you can usually hide a laptop off frame on this little shelf down here. Now on the back of the TV, something that we've done with all of our TVs and all of our monitors is we also Velcro the remote right onto the back. And that's so we don't lose the remotes. So we always know that we can just reach right behind the TV and pull our remote out. As we're moving along this way, you'll see we've got what tends to be our main key light in most of our shots. This is the Aperture 120D with the Light Dome Mark II. And we've got our egg crate modifier on it so that we can direct the light and make sure it doesn't spill as much onto our background, especially when we're shooting against that paper backdrop. We want to make sure that the colors splash on it and not washed out by this bright white light. This is just on a C-stand, nothing special. We've got our sandbags here. There's actually one on the floor for where I was standing to make sure I stay in the same spot. And one of the tricks with these sandbags is instead of filling them with sand, we actually decided to opt for just little pebbles. And what I do is I take big gallon-sized Ziploc bags, fill it with pebbles, and then put that inside the sandbag. Because if this thing busts open and it's got sand in it and you're on a client shoot, it's going to make a mess everywhere. So the little pebbles, much easier to clean up and really aren't going to seep through the bag unless you really bust it wide open. As we go through this way, we have a little just kind of laptop cart. We mostly use this as a stand for when we're running a teleprompter. Nothing special. It's a little wiry bar cart that we got probably from Walmart or Amazon or Home Depot or something like that. But it's got 3 levels, so we can store some gear on it as need be. You can see I've got a roll of gaff tape just kind of hanging out down here. And off to the side, there's some little hooks. So if we needed to hang any extra cables or anything that we might need, we'll just keep that off to the side. A little folding chair to go with it. So again, really nothing special. It's from IKEA, but it's a bar height chair. It folds in really nice and slim. So if I needed to hide it behind those paper backdrops over there, I could easily just stow this away out of sight. Now down here, kind of the pièce de résistance. This is probably one of the smartest things that we did with this studio space. And that is we ran our HDMI cables through the wall. So we have a cutout. We color-coded our HDMI cables, and then we're just hanging them on these little strips that stick to the wall. And the reason why I like this is because if we ever do a live stream in here, we can actually control it from our back room behind this plexiglass window. So you can see next to me, we have like our little control room over here. We can just run the cables through the wall to the camera, and we can let the client stay out here with, distraction free for their event. And it helps keep everything that might cause noise or anything that we need to monitor, keeps it all back here in the dark, usually out of sight for them. Our main camera today is the Canon C70. We absolutely love this camera. It's on one of our brand new Manfrotto tripods with a Benro head. We've got our teleprompter over here, and if you've seen our past videos, we do a video of how we use the pad prompter, but we rip out the piece that holds the iPad, and we actually put a HDMI monitor inside of it. And we really like that because you can run it from the computer. So watch that video if you want to learn more about what items we're using, and we do link to all of those products in the description of those videos. On the floor, not a whole lot, nothing crazy, just a couple cable runs. We've got maybe some, surge protectors and power strips. We've got a few light stands. We try to make sure that most of these things that are a little bit bigger are on wheels. So I really do love one of our light stands that's over here for our fill light is actually on a wheeled base. It's like a C-stand on wheels, but it doesn't have a huge, it doesn't take up a huge amount of real estate. So it's something we can easily just kind of wheel around the room. So I'm going to circle around this way and we'll talk a little bit about our audio setup in here. So our typical audio setup when we're in the studio, just a boom mic suspended overhead, but you may hear, if we're really quiet, the HVAC is running. So that's something we'll usually have to shut down when we are recording a video, and making sure that it's quiet, because the HVAC, where it comes out, is like right above where we stand frequently for pretty much our main backdrops. So it does get a little bit warm when we film. Again, it's a business park. It wasn't necessarily designed to be a video studio, but we make do with what we have. We've got a C-stand to hold up that shotgun mic, keep it out of the frame. We've got another like 40, maybe 45 or so inch TV over here. Again, same deal. Remote is Velcroed to the back of it, so we don't forget it, don't lose it anywhere. And then this is another really great item that I like having in here. It's a bar height table. It's maybe, my wingspan's about 6 feet, so it's about 6 feet wide. Maybe 2.5 feet across, but we put this thing on sliders. So if we ever need to use this as a prop, there's no having to like lift and move and hurt your back. You can literally just slide the entire thing wherever you need it to go. So this thing slides all around the room as we're constantly changing our backdrops and goes where we need it to, and everybody likes how it looks on camera. We'll turn to this side. Now, one of the things that was important in our soundproofing process was to do things that are really only semi-permanent, that are not going to piss off the landlord, and things that, will still allow for a really nice studio space. We lucked out that this space just so happened to be the owner's space to use for his band's practice sessions. And what they did was they took an old cubicle wall and they nailed it into the wall. So behind our fake brick backdrop here, it's cubicle fabric, and it's like a metal frame that's probably about 2 inches thick. And this really helps to not only make sure our sound doesn't echo off of this wall, but it also just kind of kills any sound between us and the neighbor next door. So we don't really hear them, they don't really hear us, and we're really happy with how our videos sound at the end of the day. Now, because we had this here, we had to find a creative way to make a new backdrop that we could use for our studio. And so I found these panels. They're at Home Depot. You can probably find them at Lowe's too. They're 4 feet wide by 8 feet tall. And it looks like real brick. It almost feels like it too. The texture of it's very realistic. And so all we did was we took some zip ties, and at the very top up here, we zip tied it to these cubicle walls that are already screwed into the wall. So we're not doing anything that's damaging the wall. We're not doing anything that's permanent. If we needed to take them down and replace them, we just cut the zip ties and trash them. They were like maybe 25 bucks a panel. So 3 of them side by side gives us a 12-foot wide backdrop, an 8-foot tall backdrop that we can use as just another piece for one of our videos. Fake plant, nothing special about that. was probably from IKEA, but it's just a prop that we can pull in to hide some outlets on the wall when we're shooting. Another little like portable TV on wheels. This guy is maybe like 20, 22 inches, give or take. This is something that, again, when we're live streaming, we'll typically use for the client so they can see their program feed. They can also see like anyone on Zoom or PowerPoint slides. So we usually have a bunch of TVs and monitors that are around them when we're shooting. Down here, my favorite couch. This is our ZMB blue couch. And one of the things that I learned from the past studio that I was in was to basically have a very easy access sign to the Wi-Fi password, because your guests will ask you for that. In this sign, there's a built-in business card holder. So it's just convenient that this tends to sit here, and if someone asks for a card and walks through the front door, I can give them a card, or the password is right here. I keep a bowl with like mints and candy too, and this is for not just the client, but if the client has team members that are sitting here in the dark all day while we're on a video shoot. I know that these make noise, but in between they can usually, pull a mint out and enjoy that. It's just one of these things to help them make feel like they're at home. And then hand sanitizer, of course, trying to be as COVID safe as we possibly can. So we keep hand sanitizer all around the room. So in a second, I want to show you where the restroom is, where I store all my gear, what the back control room is. But before we do that, I want to also show you some of these other things that are in this corner of the room. So over here, I've got a lamp. This is really just a prop that's sometimes used with the brick backdrop. Other times we'll put it over there. Again, just another item that can move around and help us design and create a set that doesn't take up a ton of space, and it looks really nice on camera. Some extra chairs, so these we'll sometimes store away in a closet when we can. Security camera, so making sure that it sees the front door and the whole room. We will know if someone enters this room with all of our expensive gear while we're not here. It's all alarm system too. And then a closet that is deceiving. This is a much bigger closet than you would think. And I know that there's no light in here, but we've got a 6 or 7 foot tall rack on wheels that has all these shelves where we store stuff. We've got tons of Pelican cases, extra chairs, a stepladder, some extra sound blankets, cases for just packing things when we need to go on the road. We've got, I think there's like some collapsible backdrops, some mic stands, a stool, backup paint. If we need to repaint the wall for whatever reason, we have some extra paint. So that is one place where I'm storing some of the gear. And then back this way, our little kind of hallway back here, we have another one of these rolling shelves. And this one's a little bit messier, but because it's kind of tucked away back here, I'm not really too concerned with the client seeing it. We try to keep everything relatively organized between these collapsible crates that I love. They were like $10 at Costco. So typically we'll sort between HDMI cables and video cables, audio cables, power cables, a bunch of little odds and ends. So like masking tape, green screen tape, like a mini roll of gaff tape, all sorts of just little stuff that I might need to pick and pull while I'm on a shoot, some clamps. We've got our SDI cable reels up here. So for our bigger live streams, we'll pull those out. Some extra little items that we've received and used on the YouTube channel, our bigger live streaming units and cases and stuff, sound mixer, some light stands and tripods are also kind of tucked away, hidden down here on the bottom. And then the favorite part of the clients and the customers, the coffee bar. So I always make sure to provide a Keurig, like a little container with some candy tucked away in the back here. They can pull out any sort of coffee that they want, decaf, regular, a couple different flavors. I've got some to-go cups because we do have clients that like to take one for the road even when they do leave the video shoot. And then I try to mix it up. We've got some cutlery, so if we ever needed to eat here and we didn't get any forks or knives, I've got some like Arizona iced teas, some seltzers, some mini water bottles, extra trash bags, some mugs if we needed it for a prop. We can just wash it out in the bathroom when we're done. Microwave, and then of course a mini fridge. And then again, just for the customers, really, it's little stuff like a box of tissues or like a thing of sanitizer wipes so we can wipe down that table in between or anything that they might get their hands on. Over here's the bathroom. It is nothing special, but I'll show you anyways. pretty simple. It's just our toilet, but I really do like this little bar cart that I put in here because I've got things like Visine, I've got some cough drops, these little like disposable toothbrushes. So if you got something in your teeth after lunch, client can come in here and grab one of these. If they need to go somewhere afterwards, be COVID safe, we've got some spare masks for them. And then of course over here in this little organizer, we got this from IKEA as well. We're just tucking away things like paper towel, extra toilet paper, stuff that you just want out of sight that you don't want the client to see, but it still looks really, really nice and gives us additional storage space in such a small setup. So now let's head on over to our kind of back room. It's my control room, it's my editing room, it's my office, and we'll show you what's in there. So here is kind of my back office, my control room, my editing room. This is where kind of all the magic happens. So come on in this way and I'll show you. Again, we are taking advantage of a very, very small space and still giving ourselves a lot of room. Over on this side, I've got a rack mount unit. This is actually like a super top secret thing that we're working on, but hint, hint, if you're a live streamer, if you've got an A10 mini, we're gonna be building out like a full unit that fits inside a case, so be on the lookout for that in the future. On this side of the table, I've got a LCD screen with an A10 mini Extreme, I've got a Stream Deck, and then my HDMI cables that are color-coded, those run through the wall to the studio room. So if we're running a live stream from in here, I know exactly what cable goes where, and I can hook it into my camera and bring my feed into this room and control it all from back here. Off to the side, we've got, this is a 40 terabyte backup unit. This is something that I haven't set up yet. There's another 40 terabyte backup unit just kind of sitting over here. We'll probably get some better shelves for this in the future. And then my main editing station is dual 32-inch screens, fully maxed out MacBook Pro. We're using a CalDigit docking station. No fancy speakers because in the end, if we needed to really check a product, we can put in some nicer studio headphones. This is really just for like rough cuts and rough editing, not necessarily for like sound design or anything like that. Nothing special, a couple places for like notes, some post-it notes, some notebooks that I can write in if I'm on a call. Off to this side though, I do have a Shure MV7 podcast microphone on a boom arm. So for my Zoom calls, I've got my Logitech C920 webcam on a little Gorilla Pod in the middle, and then I can just boom this mic right in. And now I have my beautiful podcasting mic that pretty much every client says my voice sounds way better over these Zoom meetings. I've got some extra iPhone charging cables, my internet router, so I'm hardwired into a gigabit fiber line that's actually coming from like directly into the office. So it's all coming straight through the corner of the room. I'm getting a direct fiber line. On this side, it is a laser printer, so just the ability to be able to print out scripts or anything just real quick on the spot. Laser printer takes a lot longer before you have to actually replace the ink toner on it. And then I keep things like envelopes, some priority mailing boxes in case you got to ship a hard drive out real fast, stapler, backup paper, just some important documents, a paper shredder, trash can. Really nothing too crazy here. All these are basic office supplies. And then over here, this desk is a relatively new addition. This is hopefully going to turn into either like an intern's desk where we'll add another computer, or maybe we'll, add another employee. Who knows? We'll see. Air filter. So I did find that with these drop ceilings in this office, on occasion I come in and like some of the drop ceiling material, you might find it on like a desk or something. So over time, just making sure that we're breathing some fresh and clean air. And then in this corner, more storage. So leveraging our space here again to make sure that we can keep as much stuff kind of tucked away, still kind of in a clean, nice setup. So this was a gym locker. It came out of, I guess, a gym of some sort. And we found this at the used office equipment and store near us. And what I like about it is not only does it lock, but it has this really tall side section where it's got room for hangers and you can hang up clothing. So you can keep like a backup rain jacket in here if you're caught in a rainstorm and you're going out to a shoot. I keep some weird odds and ends like backup like old boxes, like a box from a monitor that I wasn't sure I was going to keep, but I kept it anyways. I'll probably just trash this later, but this is a really great place to hide away all those little things that would sit out and make your space look like it was super messy. Some drawers, so like extra toilet paper and things I might need to restock over time. More boxes, so like my Canon C70 box in case I ever sold it or upgraded. Some filing cabinets so I can keep track of taxes and things like that. And then down here, couch. The couch is from Wayfair. Nothing too expensive or crazy, but it's just a nice place to sit if I'm tired or my back doesn't feel so great from sitting in a desk chair all day. So being able to just chill on the couch, make a couple phone calls and meetings from here is really nice and convenient. It's also great if I'm reviewing footage with a client. So they can kind of sit over my shoulder without sitting over my shoulder. They can sit back here and still see the 32-inch screens, and we can either edit together or review footage together. And it's just another one of those little comfort pieces. So while we're down here, I want to show you something that is also down tucked away beneath the computer that I didn't want to forget that I need to mention is our backup battery supply. So come on over this way. We'll slide. This is a Herman Miller Aeron desk chair. It's really comfy, but this is a CyberPower backup battery. Everything on this computer is running through this. Reason being, if the power goes out, our internet router is going to go out, our computer is going to go out, our backup hard drives are going to go out. This gives us enough time to safely power down all of these electronics that we have plugged in. And if I'm out and it's just like, you know, once I'm gone, really the only thing plugged in is our backups, like our hard drives. If I'm out and the power goes out, it should give us enough time for those to run and enough time for me to get my notification from a Ring alarm that the power goes out, that I can run over here and make sure that I get everything powered down safely. So backup battery, 99 bucks from Costco, worth every single penny. And we also bring these out on our live streams in case the power goes out as well. So with that being said, this concludes the tour for the studio. You'll notice that we really tried to make sure that every little element was super useful, had more than one purpose. We'd have more than one background. Every 90 degrees that you turn, you can change up the background. Like, it's not just a brick wall. There's a brick wall with the blue couch on it, or there's a brick wall with a lamp and a fake plant. Like, we can change and use all of these props to constantly make different backgrounds. So thank you for watching, and hey, other Zephan in the next video, I'm gonna send it over to you. So as you can see, I've put a lot of thought into this modest space. Some quick tips that I learned include: 1, learn how to store a lot of things in a very small space. 2, presentation when a client first walks in is important. Supplying mints, Tylenol, hand sanitizer, and more are tiny gestures that you're going to make this place their home for the time that they are here. 3, be nice to your neighbors. They could blast music at any moment and completely ruin a video. 4, you might be afraid to get a space now, but you'd be surprised how much you do use it once you have it. 5, nothing says official more than having your name and logo on the door, as well as the sign in front of the building. By the way, these came included with my rent. 6, business class gigabit internet makes sharing files so much easier. 7, backups, backups, backups. And lastly, make everything modular. Permanent installations get boring, and you'll need to be able to change up your work for different clients. This wraps up my YouTube studio tour. I hope you got some creative ideas for some studio backgrounds, as well as some tips on how I've set up my studio. If you like this video, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button below. See you soon.